I wrote things. Jerry was a quiet person. Took years knowing him, however multifaceted person he was. It was long after he was 21 years old. He never spoke about the extremely hazardous duty he served while a helicopter pilot in the second tour. Doris and I attended an air show up in Lakewood 2 years back with his staff, and of course he was drawn to the helicopter. All the work he volunteered for was done with no fancy. He took care of the bocce court and the ring for Zoom meeting. Jerry was arranged a classes for GCICS. But it was Carol who really benefited. He also loved gardening, giving me plants and showing me how to start pineapples from the top. Got a whole garden full of pineapples. And it works. So many knew that Jerry knew many show tunes. And he and Carol were very involved in many plays when they lived in town. Doris and I knew that Jerry had a very important job at the Panama Canal, and we had a chance to visit his beloved back in 2019. We then discovered what an important position he had. Before the days of computers, Jerry personally could and would retain the knowledge of vessels, captains, sizes, and displacements in order to navigate them through the canal properly, safely. He was very highly respected. You know that we're all glad that through GCICS, the Bocce Gang and Mary Lou, he invested not too long after the respected spouses. How great it was to see their love grow. Many in our Bocce group share the nature of fear at each other's home. Jerry was not big into organized religion. However, I personally witnessed his excited interest in the excellent presentation given by Father Andrew Travasora. Father Andrew is assigned to the Vatican and is an expert presenter on this topic. He's the son of club members Dan and Mary Dalton. I'm a big believer in prayer during nights, which I'm sure we would like the people. Jerry is at the top of my list for saying prayers. That went on for a long time during the summer. I'm going to miss my buddies, and we're going to have food later, but say we have blessings on the food and not consistency of the faith. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
I'm going to
By the way,
borrow your
Sandy, Jerry's sister.
Oh, you're gonna go there? Then I'll sit there. Okay.
Talk
I'm
loud.
gonna try to do this.
Talk loud.
Jerry and I were members of a military family. Our father, Guy Hall, was originally from Colorado. When he came back after being at Pearl Harbor, he was given an assignment of being a recruiter for the Army in Montpelier, Vermont. And that is where he met our mother. He met our mother, her mother's renowned diner, where people, even though she passed away at 102, 25 years ago, people remember her still. So they got together. My mom was the secretary to the governor of Vermont at the time. Jerry was born in Montpelier. From Montpelier, he was assigned to New York City for a short time. And then my father was being sent to Germany. So He went to Germany first. At that time, my mother was pregnant with me, and she and Jerry followed on a ship where she got to enjoy her morning sickness all the way on. The first couple of memories I have certainly are not my own because I was too young. But I think it'll tell you a little bit about Jerry, things that you would never know. So, the first one, when we were in Germany, the building they lived in had a laundry chute. Jerry fell down the laundry. Luckily for Jerry, there was laundry at the bottom. Now in Germany, we were in Stuttgart. And, back in those days, kids could be outside and play. Nobody really was concerned about anybody abducting them or anything like that. So Mom was sending to me and Jerry was out. And then Jerry disappeared. And they couldn't find him. And everybody in the neighborhood's looking for Jerry. Where did he go? Couldn't find him. Hours later, Jerry comes home. Classic line with a puppy. Where'd you get the puppy? He said, well, this woman came up to me and asked me if I wanted a puppy. And I said, yes. She said, she took me on a bus and we went to this other town. She gave me the puppy. She put me back on the bus. Well, Jerry's 5 years older than me. So if I was 1 or 2, 7 or 8, maybe. And then I know everybody always comments on how much I look like Jerry. Jerry used to always tell me I was adopted. I said, good luck. So, Germany, we spent a short amount of time in Tacoma, Washington. And we drove back cross country on that trip. When they made a stop at a gas station, everybody, of course, went to the restroom, got back in the car. My parents drove about a half an hour and they decided that it was too quiet. Well, lo and behold, Jerry never got back. And we turned around with that. After that, we went on our first tour to Panama while my dad was still in the military. While in Panama, Jerry was out with a friend. They were in the jungle all the time. They went everywhere, doing things. And they brought home, he and Ronnie Savage brought home a very large boa constrictor that they had killed. Oh my God. Well, they proceeded to dissect the boa constrictor in a carnivore. Unfortunately, and Jerry was very upset afterwards, was a pregnant female boa and all the babies things. So I think that gave him a strong sense of value for life. He never did anything like that again. Another time, Jerry woke up in the middle of the night to turn off his fan and stuck his thumb in the oscillating fan. We were at the ER for a long time. Now, in Panama, in the Canal Center, there was some of what you could call segregation, division by labor, depending upon what you did for the canal. But everybody got along, everybody loved each other, everybody was respectful of each other in each other's position. But then we moved to Georgia, which was my father's last military assignment. We went to Columbus, Georgia in 19. Well, things were a lot different in Georgia. And Jerry and I didn't get it. We didn't understand what it was all about, but, you know, we just didn't get it. The one year in Georgia, I wanted to be Aunt Jemima for Halloween. Because I love Aunt Jemima, I love pancakes and waffles, I just wanted to be Aunt. And you know, my parents were fine with it. My mom took me to this makeup artist and made me into Aunt Jemima, and we were good, but people in the neighborhood did not like this. And Jerry, at that time, he was probably like 13, or, no, he was, yeah, 15. He wanted a pair of red patent leather shoes. And they let him get it. But then he tried to wear them to school. Did not go over it. So, kind of after our home. So then we went back to Panama. My father left the military after his 20 years. And they always ask, where would you like to, where are you gonna move to? Pay for one last move. He asked us as a family, and we all said we want to go back to camp. So he went down to Panama, found a business opportunity, and we went. And that was in Panama, wouldn't call it this, but that was like the fall of 1963.
Mhm.
And we were living in Panama City at the time of the riots there in 1964. Jerry was attending the high school where flag incident that, you know, prompted the riots occurred. And we lived in. So, at that time, my mom had a New Yorker. Jerry would take me to school once he was 16, once he could drive. And he would turn up the heat and use the car as a sauna. I would be like, don't come pick me up after school, I'll get home. Before that, when we were riding in the back seat one time, that car had a lighter in the back. Now in the front, you knew not to touch it. Well, he convinced me that I should. So I put my phone in the cigarette. And when I went to get my home traveler number from the TSA, even though I've been fingerprinted many times for jobs, for employment, the guy must have digitized it and taken it 7 times. I said, you're never going to get that phone. I said, I can tell you why if you want. I told him. Phone and cigarette. So at that time, I was still young. When Jerry left to go to Vietnam, I was 14 years old. That I was 16. And that's when we really became friends, just not siblings. And we've been very, very close ever since then. For my 16th birthday, right after he came back from Vietnam, he gave me this necklace with his name, with my name on it. I have worn this necklace every day since he gave it, unless I was in the hospital or somewhere where they made me take it off. That's how I feel about my brother. I will always wear it. I must have 100 necklaces that I never wear. Because I take one off. Now, I am so grateful and feel very blessed that Gary, Beth, and I were able to go to Panama earlier this year. We spent like 4 weeks, 3.5, yeah, in Panama. And we had a wonderful time. He was not ill at that time. Actually, Beth had some issues, but Jerry had none. So it was not meant to end the way it did. But I will love and respect my brother. Thank you for coming.
Hard to follow. Because he has a lifetime of memories with him, and I have yet 5 years, but most of you have known Jerry way longer. And I forgot, I'm sorry, open their microphone. So you can appreciate some of the things I would be sharing with you about Jerry, but what can I say about my sweet Jerry? Jerry had a method for everything. How he folded his bills to fit perfectly into his wallet. How many seconds to grind the coffee bean. How he folded the filter so it fit in the thing exactly. How he made his bed military style, no wrinkle. That took me a while to learn that. How he rolled his t-shirts, not folded them, but rolled them so that he could see what color each shirt was and not have to like fold them. And how he hung his pants up separately, precisely. He wasn't meticulous, he was just methodical. He was the perfect handyman. He could jerry-rig anything to make it work. Both our friend Millie, who isn't here today, and I can say there are no rooms in either of our homes that don't have the handyman of Jerry somewhere. He approached every task with calm determination and skill. He could remember dates and numbers like no one else, even the exact time he went to bed or woke up. He would say things like, I woke up at 7:26 this morning. Or 7:25 to me, whatever. Or in March 2001, Carol and I stopped at this roadside cafe and it was really good. And we had, whatever they had to eat, I remember exactly what. He knew the history of Panama backwards and forwards, including all the important dates down to the month. On a more personal note, he always held my hand. I so loved that gentle gesture from him. Walking from the car to a restaurant, walking around the neighborhood, on the beach, in Panama, Italy, everywhere we went, he held my hand. One time in Italy, in Venice, it was really crowded, and we were walking across the Accademia Bridge, and I had to walk behind him. He reached back to clasp my hand, and he grabbed someone else's. The person said, excuse me? And he turned around and said, I'm sorry, wrong person. He never raised his voice. He never showed frustration or impatience. He had a way of approaching any of the above with calmness and logic. Nothing seemed to get under his skin, or at least he had a unique gift of diminishing the effect. He gentled my worries. He calmed my fears. He made me feel safe and loved. There are a zillion more little things that I love about him. And I will miss and cherish this remarkable man for the rest of my life. So thank you, Jerry. My perfect chapter 2, my best friend and loving companion, for sharing with me the best 5 years of my life. Thank you for coming. Now, we can get toast to Jerry. I hope everyone has something to toast with. If you don't, there's plenty more. Food is going to be out. That's okay. We'll eat and drink and be merry.
If you want to refresh your drink or grab something.
And also, if any of you want to share something about Jerry, I forgot to ask you, if anyone wants to share a story that they have, feel free to.
Yes.
No.
I have,
Oh, good. Come
everyone's supposed to have a chance to say something, but as you know, Doris and I spent probably a week and a half in Panama with Carol and me, and it was fantastic. Everyone knows him from years back. So when I got back, I couldn't help myself. I had to write a poem. Can you imagine seeing the sun rise instead of over the Pacific Ocean? Just imagine in 2 hours by car, your feet could be in both the Atlantic and Pacific. Did you know that the Panama Canal runs north and south, not east and west? Cobra can fly you there in about 3 hours from Tampa, so come on board. Drawn together by their love of many things Italian, friends, innocent conversation, birth, plane. Panama had once been a place the whole truly called their home. They had a desire to go back. They lived old time, only this time not alone. Carol and Jerry went immediately to work making plans. This journey could hardly be done. Only be done after a closed bocce invitational. Plans were made easy for the Urbans. Just follow the whole guideline. Dress code simple, foods diverse, not the rainy season. Just get ready for a great time. Now here we are at Torres Alba Hotel, perched high on the 22nd floor. We can see Old Town, countless skyscrapers, a very bustling city, and more. In the distance lie monstrous cargo ships, anchored awaiting their turn for transit. A westward look shows multiple trains to offload their containers and now engines. Surprise await us everywhere for us to do, whether up high, on busy streets, or on the canal. Old Town hides quaint shops, restaurants, multiple places to visit. With the help of our seasoned guide, we navigate them all very well. The Old Town churches were beautiful, but two contained a hidden story. For in their back rooms were found the life of Christ in all its glory. Large rooms full of figures depicting various scenes, a magnificent Persephone, people say Persephone. Imagine these figures in fine detail, not in Italy, here in Panama City. Trips always involve food, thus mornings were begun with various breakfast delights. Then a midday surprise and planning for where to go that night. Italian won most, but local seafood and other dishes were also found. Our driver Carol was amazing, driving in the city traffic, shuffling us around. She was the driver, and she was like a New York taxi driver. The roads were always jammed, and their pattern to us made no sense or rhyme. Carol was like a New York City taxi driver, maneuvering in and out to make time. After 2 weeks of travel, Doris and I could still not figure out the traffic flow. But with Jerry's help, we somehow made it through, and we were always on the go. The word contrast seems to come into play everywhere we go. In this city, we see immense and beautiful, architecturally diverse skyscrapers. Short distance away are densely populated, grand tenements of the poor. Bustling streets, subways, taxis, etc., are surrounded by tropical vegetation. Walking the streets, one can also see that contrast is not far away. Where side by side are businessmen and the native sandblades in their full mobile way. Wearing the vibrant colors patterns, sight to behold. Their native history was on display for many places hoping to be sold. The adornments on their heads and facial markings were only a start, for on their arms and legs were wrapped much intricate beading. Just imagining a young lady constantly wearing this since puberty. I was amazed at the poise and sense of pride each person did carry. A trip along the coast was made so we could experience the beach. Boy, did that wind of a house that blew through a condo, again way up high. Relaxing up there from up above, we watched as the tide would ebb and flow. For without, large floodplains appeared where the water's edge had once been below. A special trip was made overland to the other side. Friend Amy was making the last trip over to the Caribbean waters where we were throwing her rafters over there. She would also be making her last stop, and we toasted with food, drink, and wine. Her friends bid her a kind farewell, and Blue Sea took her in. Our trip was made very special by our canal minister. Jerry was able to bring us to places never seen by tourists. We had explanations and saw the master control room for its canal operation. It was our joy in observing the smiles of former workers saying, "Hey, it's Mr. Hall." He was welcome. It really was amazing. And that's why I said when I started this whole thing that he's an amazing guy. A trip to this land should include some passage through the canal. Ours began halfway at Gamboa and south blocks to San Pedro. Our sightseeing vessel was jammed with fellow travelers and an excellent guide. He detailed the points of interest in history as we journeyed with another large ship. Up close and personal we were, able to take in the size of the other transversing vessels. One could truly appreciate the majesty of the locks, changing the water level. The sidewalls were almost touching distance, and thus magnified all our senses. What a great adventure as we left the Miraflores lock, inching toward the harbor. Imagine being in a simulator where the canal tugboat's pilots are trained. We experienced 360 degrees in every direction as we left the projected harbor. The simulator was very realistic, changing even the weather as we neared the lock. Suddenly our night sky changed to thunder, lightning and rain. What a shock. A nighttime trip was made back to the Miraflores. A ringside table looked down at the ships, certainly proved to be a real winner. Multiple ships could be seen going back and forth, ones in the new locks. This was a highlight as we saw what makes this place a wonder of the world. One can usually recall points of interest, but meeting people always stands out. The Hall's friends were no exception to this. A dinner prepared by Anita showed the love and respect that they had garnered. Doris and I returned home with many fond memories, grateful for that bocce court talk.
Very good.
I would like to say that the white shelf over there in the hallway and the things, if everybody wants to take anything as a memento from there, feel free to take what you want. I know we all have too much stuff. Yeah.
I didn't know Jerry very long. I went to a happy hour once. When we were sitting together with Jerry and Beth. And I asked Jerry, I understand you were in Vietnam. He said, how was it Vietnam? What did you do? I flew helicopters. I said, really? Helicopter? Okay. Were you on any dangerous mission? He said, no, not really. My major mission was delivering beer to different. I said, I'm looking at him. I said, really? That's all I did. When I look back, somebody asked me what I do in Vietnam. That's what I told them. So that's what I remember. He always had this interesting sense of humor. So that's what I remember about it.
To tell you, when Jerry came back from Vietnam, he told me that all he did was drive around.
Right, he was like a
However, he told Beth he got shot down twice.
yeah. Well, and he always said to me, and I always thought it was so strange because there's so many people with PTSD from Vietnam and there were so many horrible things that they went through. And Jerry said, well, I was flying a helicopter. It was kind of fun. But Vietnam was fun. Not to discount some of the horrible things that happened, but that was Jerry's take on things. It's like, yeah, I was flying a helicopter. I got to like do my thing. He was Jerry.
Remember the good and not the bad.
Yes.
Okay, I knew Jerry and Caroline for many years. I met Carol in our Italian class that was run by Pat Novak, who was a Department of Defense teacher, and Tina and Franco. And, I went to all of Pat's happy hours, and then it became Christina's, Carolina's happy hours. And we just had a very good time with Carol and Jerry. And when Jerry came back from Italy after Carol died. I called him, probably a week later. I said, Jerry, how are you? He goes, I'm having a hard time. And I said, I can believe that. And he said that Carol told me to find something. And I go, that's wonderful. And he did. He found it. And you and Jerry became best friends. And you did everything. Yeah. And I did things with you. And gosh, he's going to be missed. And he was such a lovely person. And he and Carol are looking down right now. And I just want him to know that I'm going to continue to take care of Noah. And gosh, I'm just glad that you're taking his ashes and Carol's ashes are going to be together at the Natural Cemetery. It's a beautiful cemetery. And they'll be joined by my parents and my brother. So, and that's all.
Thank you, Linda. It's very sweet. So, anybody hungry? Thirsty, hungry? Say anything else? Just part my name can eat, and it's very important that you're the both Sandy. Yes, and Eleanor is also part of our thing. Oh, we meet again. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, please, there's something to drink, there's food on the table, and thank you all for.
Okay, I think that's it.
No. Good boy. How you doing?